Cheap tent or expensive tent? It's really hard to figure out what you need and what you don't need. These are the things I wish somebody told me when I was first buying my first tent, second tent, even third tent. What do you need when you're buying a tent? So the basics are cheap tents are larger. There are relatively strong structures, but there's a lot of open space. They're usually 4 to 6 person tents. Expensive tents are usually smaller. They're 2 to 3, 4 person tents, but they are more compact. They're lightweight. They're better for backpacks. In the smaller space, the more body heat stays in the tent. But let's break it down. So starting with the expensive tents. Expensive tents you can get from Academy, Amazon. They'll range from $40 to probably $150, and you can get what 80% of the people out there need if you're going to go car camping or you're going to go just to the local state park. Those tents are really all you need. And unless you're going to camp in the snow, you don't need anything different. They come with rain flies. You'll be covered. You can be in a good storm with them. There's really nothing to worry about. If you are going to be in cold weather, like snow or ice or anything like that, if you're going to go with a cheap tent, get a smaller tent. You don't want that much air volume inside of your tent, and the reason being is your body heat will actually keep you warm in a smaller tent than it will in a bigger tent. Now, if you're not going to be in cold weather, big tent's fine. You don't need to worry about airspace, and quite honestly, it's a lot nicer when the tent's bigger. You can stand up, you can get changed easier, all that good stuff. Expensive tents, they are lightweight, they are very thin material, strong material. The poles are much different. The cheap tents have big bulky poles. The more expensive tents have thinner rods that are just as strong as the bulky ones. They're really good for backpacking, so you can hike out to your camping spot. But if you're not hiking out to your camping spot, you're going to spend $150 to $300 extra for that compact that tucks away nicely when you're going to get the same performance out of this. Because if you don't need that, don't buy that. Camping World is so overrun with overly expensive items that you don't need to buy. I'll put a couple links. My first tent was a Coleman tent. I think I got it for $100 from Academy. I think they're now like 150 over the last 10 years. It's gone up a little bit. It lasted me a very long time. And then the only reason I upgraded was because I gave that tent away to somebody else, and I got an expensive tent since I was in the hobby quite a bit, and I thought this was going to be the end all be all. And I have to tell you, the more expensive tent was the worst tent I've ever owned. I got wet inside. It was a terrible rain fly. I got the most highly reviewed tent from REI, and it was terrible. I've gone since to a rooftop tent. That's the ultimate way to go. It's glamping, really. It's a little over the top, but it makes camping, especially on a long trip, much nicer, much more relaxing and easier. But if you're just going for a couple weekends a year, basic Coleman tents, those are your best solution. I'm curious if y'all have had similar situations where if you've upgraded your tent to a more expensive tent and you've had more difficulty with it than the simple tents. Leave your story down below. I'd like to read it. I'd like to hear other people's experiences. Maybe mine's a one-off. However, most people, cheap tent is all you need. Get out there, have fun. Don't overspend. Don't overthink it. Just enjoy camping and get out there and enjoy nature. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.